So, yes, we are back, and that was Genesis Noir. Adam and Emma checking that out. As Adam mentioned, if you have Game Pass, but it's currently on Game Pass, it's a quick little fun game. So, yeah, if you like to look at that, go check it out. Let us know what you thought of it. And now, me and Dan are going to have a conversation about niche communities in games. So, Dan,
Yes.
take it away. What's it all about?
So, niche communities in games. This is kind of inspired by the conversation we had last week about me being an old man and aging gamers. And it's something I think about a lot. Obviously, we do a lot of work in and around and research into community management. It's obviously a very significant pillar of the games industry and ties in very closely with a lot of the work that we do. But as of, I believe, in 2020, there globally are 2.7 billion people that play games. So that's a community of people aligned and enjoying games. That's across any device, any platform, mobile, desktop, consoles. 2.7 billion people. It's probably to a point that it's not particularly useful to engage with gamers in that definition. That is basically just saying this is just people. So from a marketing perspective, both for games and for non-endemic, for brands who want to engage with games audiences, like that is a very dated attitude. So, let's engage with gamers. They seem to be on the headlines a lot, and we see it all the time. We see real, I think I've mentioned this before, kind of real low-hanging fruit efforts. Oh, let's stick a pixel font and some bleepy noises and maybe some Mario sound effects, and we are now trying to engage with these 2.7 billion people, and our brand is going to blow up. That is not very useful for anyone, and it doesn't offer much value either. You can't create a space for gamers. So I think there's now infinite scope for us to go narrower. And so 2.7 billion is kind of the top of the funnel that we can address. Let's take the biggest game on the planet, which is Fortnite. So as of May 2020, 350 million people play Fortnite, or have played Fortnite. I think that's activated accounts or something like that. So that's still a very, very large number of people. So, let's target Fortnite players. We've got a similar game, or we've got a product that would appeal to Fortnite players. Again, you're talking to, there's going to be a skewed demographic within that, but there's such a large number crossing so many boundaries of age, geography, platform. Again, it's not perhaps that. Maybe if you're Epic Games, you can address Fortnite players. So I think then you can go deeper still, and this is where it's kind of like, how many levels of abstraction can you take this thinking? And this is where I've been having a lot of thoughts lately. Just following with the Fortnite numbers, as I've got the stats in front of me, you could target people playing Fortnite right this minute. And you would be targeting around about 15 million people. So still huge numbers. And if you're maybe a new title, a new IP from a new studio, you've perhaps not got the reach or the budgets to speak to that volume of people and get in front of that many people. So again, this idea of, let's go deeper again. And how specific can we get? And what that does from a engagement and marketing perspective, each layer that you go down, you're making it more and more viable to get in front of this audience. You could take it to the absolute extreme of people who, like horror games, are based in a specific geographic region, are of a certain age, and also have an affinity with My Little Pony, say. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to find a very, very small or a relatively small number of people. I've no doubt even that, I've just made that up off the top of my head, but I've no doubt there will be people that fall into those categories. And there either will be a community already, or you can provide the place for these people. And we as human beings, we like to be a part of a community. So by providing these spaces or talking to this classification of person, you can provide value for that audience, and greatly increase the chances of getting engagement from them.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because I agree. I always cringe when I see marketing reports and articles where it's like how to engage with gamers or how to use gaming to enhance your brand. It's like that's nothing. It doesn't mean anything. But what you're saying about the going down to level and level and level is important for individual games, not just people who want to engage with necessarily a group of gamers. Like if you've got a title coming out and you need to identify who those different groups are that are going to play your game, just your game, never mind any other games, just your game. You're going to have those subsets of groups, and you're going to want to understand who they are and where they are, as you say, because that's going to dictate how you market to them and how you try and get hold of them. Like sticking with the Fortnite example, as you said, there's so many people playing it, and people are playing it for different reasons, and they're gonna those different reasons are what forms subsets. So when we were talking before, like I think you mentioned about the parents who play Fortnite, like they're going to be playing Fortnite for a very different reason as to why their kids are going to be playing Fortnite. So you don't want to talk to them in the exact same way because they're not going to latch on to the same things. That demographic or that group of people with an interest have a different interest to someone else. So if you don't understand who they are and what their interests are, you're not going to reach them. And I think similarly when you're trying to attract people to a game, maybe outside of gaming, like we talk about it a lot with the companies that we work with and the companies we want to work with, is that you don't want to just narrow your focus into people who are already playing games. Like there's a lot of people who are playing games, as you've said, which is why you can't just target gamers. But you want to find those niches and those interests that tie in. So, for example, if your game's about action shooting, you don't just go after people who play action shooter games. Look for people who read action books and watch action films and things that fall into similar interests, because that's where you're going to get the hook. That's where your niches are. Like even with action gaming, like that's too big. You can't go after action gaming if you're doing a paid campaign for that and you put in the topic action gaming. I want to target those. It's so huge. You're not going to reach anyone. You're going to have monumental budgets to reach that audience to have any kind of impact. But as you said, if you go a layer deeper, it's like action gamers who are interested in X and interested in X and interested in X. All of a sudden, you could get that down from 1 billion people to say 40,000, if that's an extreme example, but you're going to have a much better chance at reaching the 40,000 people and making a significant impact on them and actually hitting them with good messaging, as opposed to trying to hit 15 million people with a message and expecting them all to fall into the same category because they play a similar kind of game. It just doesn't work like that.
Absolutely, and that understanding, that motivation, what is it that makes this person fall into this category is so important for considering how you do approach these. And you've touched on a couple of things like different types of community niche that you can focus on. So I mean, there are endless, and if anybody wants to throw in with their own ideas, please pop it in the chat. But you mentioned sort of dads, parents, so like that is a very, very undercatered for niche. I'm aware there is an account that I got on my radar a while ago was Titanfall Dads, and this was just a community of dads who enjoy playing Titanfall. And I think on Twitter they had, like, I don't know, 2,500 followers or something like that. But again, that's not an insignificant number of people, and it's a very under-addressed sort of group of people that if you gave them some attention, if you offered something of value to them, they're going to feel special, they're going to feel noticed and appreciated, and you will get a much higher engagement. So parenting, it kind of feeds into life stage. We have our infant school, high school, college, higher level education. Then we have early career. We have sort of established career, retirement. All of these key life stages are people, like you said, with different motivations, different availability, different interests. Maybe the people in the height of their career, they're going to be less time rich, and maybe games that have a short, snappy gameplay loop. We, as gets brought up in our roundup almost every week, we've got a lot of people in our team who are really into Rocket League, and that's because you've got a 5-minute game loop, and you can just dip in, you can have a few games, and then you've got to make the dinner, pick the kids up from school, whatever. It fits around that lifestyle. Similarly, age. We've all looked back at things we said when we were younger and cringed because we don't necessarily align with different age groups. And whilst I would very much encourage everybody to embrace people thoughts and opinions from all different ages, sometimes it is nice to be in alignment with people who are at that same kind of life stage as you. So yeah, targeted messaging based around somebody's age. Geography as well. We go on holiday and we're in a country we're not completely comfortable with the language there. We hear a familiar accent or a familiar language being spoken, and we'll latch on to that person. Oh, where are you from? Oh, that's funny. This is communities forming, and again, we can use that, and we can understand that motivation and that comfort, and we can lean into it and offer additional value for that. Obviously, some more common communities that are already present. Games, people align around an existing game, and there are communities there. But again, we've talked about one end of the spectrum, which is Fortnite, but there are also much smaller games that also have their own communities, and those small game brands would also be they'd be approachable for non-endemic brands. So if you want to do a collaboration, there was a recent one where Pringles did a collaboration with Upstream Arcade, who are the developers of, I think it's West 4 Dead. It was an indie game, getting to work with a huge brand. They've got this reciprocal relationship there that's really, really powerful. So yeah, people aligning around game. Adjacent to games, influencers, such content creators, influencers, such a big part of the industry now. They have their own communities. It's almost like their audience don't care what game they're playing because they are part of the PewDiePie community. And again, the PewDiePie is at one end of the scale, but we've got streamers and content creators, YouTubers down to 50, 100, 500 subscribers. You can add a lot of value for that person, whereas you're not going to get your foot in the door to have a conversation with the likes of PewDiePie.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it before with streamers, and it's a big thing. It's getting those micro influencers because they've got anywhere between say 1,000 to 10,000 followers, and that's the sweet spot. Like that's where you can really get cut through and reach those people. Like that's not to diminish people who have millions of followers. That's incredible, and if you can get someone who's got millions of followers on side with you, that is obviously a help. But people see the best engagements really with those 1,000 to 10,000 people, as you were saying with the Titanfall dads. Like 2,500 people doesn't sound a lot, but that could be your engagement there could be so high because you have such a niche, and you could focus on exactly what those people are into and understand what they're into, and hit them with the right messages. What you said about, sorry, go ahead.
As I say, we talk a lot about the long tail, and yes, you've got you've got the headline numbers at one end of the scale, and then you have the long tail, and actually the cumulative total of the long tail, the volume of smaller streamers or smaller games, these smaller communities. They are infinitely more approachable, more engageable, and you can speak to 10, 1,000 follower people much more easily than you can speak to the 10,000 follower people. So yeah, the long tail for communities is definitely something to bear in mind.
Yeah, community is so important. I'm just trying to pull up a stat that I had before, and I think it was something like 49% of 18 to 34-year-olds will continue to play a game or will pick up a game and play it if they feel part of a community. That's nearly half of a very influential demographic in gaming. Like, obviously, not neglecting anyone older than 34, but 18 to 34 is a huge demographic for gaming. If 50% of those people are going to play your game because they feel part of a community, and that doesn't mean they feel part of the whole community, like the community for the game. If they feel part of a community within that game, even if it's a community within a community, if they're more likely to play the game, that's just such a huge number that you can't ignore that.
Absolutely. We see a lot of, in our kind of paid media and user acquisition campaigns, there's the term uplift, which basically means you run a media campaign and you are essentially paying for ads or whatever. You're putting your product in front of the audience, and you will get some engagement with that, and you'll get some conversions with that. So you might display 100 ads, and then you'll get 10 conversions. 10 people will buy your product as a result of seeing these ads. Those are what you would refer to as paid for. You've paid for those conversions. But then we also have this kind of mystery metric of uplift. And what we see is by doing that activity, we get those 10 paid for conversions, but also organically there's another 2 conversions that just seem to happen. And that's this idea of community. The people who we've essentially paid for their conversion, their friends have seen their notifications to say, oh, Bob's playing this game. They've taken an interest, or the original conversion has told their friends, oh, I'm playing this game and it's great. You're getting that for free, and this is the community, the network effect happening. So yeah, again, really, really important.
Definitely. Well, Dan, that's been a really great conversation. Unless you've got anything else final to add.
No, I think that about wraps up my thinking on this for this week.
Cool. That's been a really good conversation. I very much enjoyed that. Definitely be thinking more about the different niches that games can hit. So thank you to everyone who joined us for the stream. This will be on our YouTube channel at some point in the next few hours to days, as the bank holiday weekend is upon us. But on there is a whole host of videos with interviews, more of our live shows, us just having fun playing games. So if you like us, want to see more of us, head on over to there. And we're always on Twitter. So let us know what you're up to this bank holiday weekend, what games you're playing. So thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week, as always, at 4 p.m. Until then, have a good week.
Have a good Easter.